Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now April 15th of 2025, and given that the Walt Disney Company right now is still in a downward spiral, not just limited to Snow White surprisingly, but also due to the fact that they are putting a deep pause on many live-action projects, and even animated ones out there, by the way, in the wake of the public outrage against Snow White, the overall pushback and backlash against Rachel Zegler, and everything else going on around this film. Now, we already know that a Minecraft movie by Warner Brothers really took over the box office for Snow White on a very significant scale. We know that it's surpassed $500 million worldwide, and where it stands now for Snow White, they really haven't gotten anywhere near close to that, and that is very alarming for the Disney company. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So as for Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, I like to call him Bob Liger, because this man does nothing but lie. He always lies to the shareholders, the customers, and even potential new customers alike, and strings them all along into the following year, telling them that everything's going to change, that there's going to be no agenda here or there with their films and or television programs, and then he just goes on and does it anyway, and rinse and repeat. That's Bob Iger. So here we are again. Bob Iger is hopping on the damage control train. He's going to continue to do so as long as this movie is in theaters, as long as this movie is somewhat in theaters. The reason why I say somewhat is that a lot of chains out there are beginning to just boot Snow White from the theater because it's just not making money anymore. It's frozen at the box office as we speak. It's really not budging at all. But this is where it gets interesting, because Bob Iger got caught up in multiple lies, and it really just shows you exactly how out of touch with reality he truly is. Now, with the Walt Disney Company still dealing with the public outrage related to their film Snow White, those like Bob Iger as the Disney CEO have been engaging in serious damage control. However, recently Iger was caught, like I said before, lying several times related to not just Disney, but the entire subject related to Snow White. Now, Iger delivered the following. As CEO, it is my responsibility to address the criticism related to our latest feature, Snow White. One of the false claims that we have been dealing with here at the Disney Company is that we engage in any kind of a culture war, and that the Disney Company holds no ulterior motive related to identity politics with our efforts to support DEI. I can confirm that this is not the case at all, especially with our film Snow White. There is no case of anything in our latest film that would exclude others or go against others that come from either different ethnicities and or communities around the globe. I would also like to address that we would like to celebrate our latest feature as the #1 film in the world right now based on its performance, and we have seen some overwhelming support out there for our cast and crew. This is a feature film that celebrates women and celebrates inclusion, and also how important diversity is to use at the Disney Company. As I pointed out earlier, in no case did we exclude anyone based on any possible repercussions. We felt it was our best choice to design the Seven Dwarfs in a brand new fashion. We did not purposely exclude those that come from the dwarfism community to hold the possibility of having a role in a Snow White film like this, but we rather firmly believe that this usage of CGI would be more streamlined for our production cycle for Snow White to have a smooth and stable principal photography and post-production phase as well. Now guys, before I move on about Bob Iger, he is literally lying about the whole Seven Dwarfs thing. It had nothing to do with Disney trying to engage in a streamlined production cycle like he points out there. It had all to do with, number one, Peter Dinklage getting very much caught up in a fuss about how they were including dwarves, or they were about to, in their movie. And number two, Disney eventually caved because of all the noise that Peter Dinklage was creating, and others out there as well. And he kind of ruined the overall chances for others, basically, is what happened. Now, what's interesting about this is that he goes on to say how the CGI versions of the dwarves were basically not any kind of a case that would exclude anyone from the dwarfism community, and basically that's exactly what they really did. So Bob Iger's lying right there. I love how he also points out that this is the #1 movie in the world. Everyone keeps saying that, that's connected to the film. We have him, Rachel Zegler, Greta Gerwig. They just don't want to shut up about that, you know, saying it's the #1 movie in the world. You know what's the #1 movie in the world right now where it stands is a Minecraft movie that is making, you know, tons of money at the box office, beyond expectations. Whether you like the film or not, I personally did not like this movie. I'll be very honest with you guys. Not for me. Again, I'm not the target audience as well. Just gotta point that out there. But this movie doesn't really have any agenda, and that's all you really need to create something engaging. Now, he goes on to state further, as for the criticism, we ask everyone to not fall into the obvious lies that are trying to get their point across, that pushback against this film is larger than it seems. After a careful analysis from our analysts, we have confirmed that the criticism is coming from just a minority that hold problematic issues against our company. This is not to be celebrated, as it takes away the experience from others who want to enjoy an entertaining and engaging film on the big screen. I would also like to set the record straight with everyone questioning our efforts with Snow White, that this was a very streamlined production, that we never engaged in any significant reshoots for our film that would have resulted in a costly and timely production beyond its time frame. Again, guys, another lie right there. We know that they did 3 rounds of reshoots, more so 2. The 3rd round was like very, very minimal. We're talking like maybe like 10 minutes worth of screen time that had to be reshot, but the 2 rounds of reshoots, they practically had to do the entire 2nd and 3rd acts over, and rearranging scenes and really doing takes over, all these different things. So, if you look at it in that sense, yes, they did engage in very heavy reshoots. Yes, they were very costly, because they shot a real significant portion of the film all over again, twice over. So Bob Iger's lying again there. He goes on to end by stating, that is something that I felt should be shared to everyone wondering about our production cycle for this film. We never at any moment got caught up in any kind of setbacks or costly reshoots. Sure, no setbacks. That's why this movie was done and filmed apparently back in 2022 and didn't come out until 2025. That's quite crazy, isn't it? We are very proud, he says, of all the hard work that was done on this film as we aim to improve our business model with our live-action projects. I am also unwilling to comment on our latest Tangled live-action project. So, there he goes, unwilling to comment on the Tangled drama. We all know what happened to Tangled. Alright, we talked about this just days ago, everyone was talking about it, that the Tangled live-action remake is now on pause. Not necessarily cancelled, but usually when Disney does that, it leads to a cancellation if you look at their track record. And this is aiming for a cancellation, no doubt about that. By, I would say, the end of the summer, you're going to hear more about this. So again, we know that Bob Iger is continuing to lie. He's getting caught lying, and he doesn't really care because he's going to say whatever he has to say. He's going to go down with the ship by just spewing out so much garbage out there just to kind of make it up and make it seem like everything's fine and okay with this movie just to please the shareholders. That's really what it's all about. And I think it's a lot, you know, things connected to the fact that Disney, their top 3 shareholders, let's not forget, they have to be named BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. And we all know about their ideology, right? We all know it. They love DEI. They've said at times that they want to back off on DEI a little bit, not entirely, a little bit, but that was also a complete, you know, fabrication as well. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about the ongoing Disney drama for this film, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.